Let's take a first look at the Alfa Romeo C41. Like Alpha Tauri, the Swiss team used its two development tokens for the front. The rear of the car remains mostly the same. The first new feature that we can see immediately is the nose. Alpha developed a slim nose for this season after using a wider nose concept for the last years. So why do teams develop slim noses? The slimmer the nose is, the less you obstruct the air, and high energy can flow to reach the bargeboard area. So aerodynamically, you want the slimmest nose possible. But the challenge here is the FIA crash test. If you design a slim nose, it means that you have to fulfill the same crash criteria with a crash structure with a smaller cross-sectional area. That means higher stresses for the nose parts, and it also means higher quality requirements for the nose cone production to reliably deal with these higher stresses and to pass the FIA crash test. So a lot of development work is needed to make a slim nose work. And it's also the reason why some teams are still running a wider nose. You always have to manage your capacities, and introducing a new nose is always a big deal. And that's why it's usually happening during the winter break. So how does a slim nose change your front aerodynamics? Because of the front wing design, a so-called Y250 vortex is formed. And because Alpha is the most extreme team in terms of the offloaded front wing, they try to recover downforce inboard by a more aggressive cascade, which then means that they produce quite a strong vortex. At the C41, we can see that they introduced a raised leading edge of their inboard mainplane, which is reducing the angle of attack of this inboard cascade and weakens the Y250 a bit. If I would now have a wide nose, I could increase the pressure close to the Y250 and push it a bit outboard to avoid it moving towards the center of the car, and to make sure that it hits the pressure side of the bargeboard so it can be further pushed outboard. But what if I have a slim nose? Because the nose is further away from the vortex, I somehow need to increase the pressure in the center to get the same effect. And you do this with the so-called cape. The cape is a huge, slightly angled board underneath the nose, which increases the pressure in the center, and that helps to push the Y250 outboard. At the same time, I can create another vortex with the sharp side edges of the cape, which is rotating in the same direction as the Y250. By adding more slots or vanes, I can even create multiple vortices to influence the Y250. In general, vortices can be quite powerful, and the control of them is key. If I have a large main vortex like the Y250 and I position a smaller vortex, which is rotating in the same direction alongside it, I weaken the main vortex. If I bring both together, I create a large strong vortex. And if I position another vortex next to the main vortex that is rotating in the other direction, I can create quite a strong outwash, which can then help me to blow unwanted flow fields away or to seal certain areas. So it's really nice to see that Alpha developed this pretty looking slim nose to improve their performance. To help these vortices to flow freely and to bring more energy to the bargeboard area, teams raise the front suspension to the maximum, so it's out of the way. Another thing we can talk about is the super small shark fin that Alpha is using. Unlike other teams, Alpha is using the smallest possible shark fin. Like I described in my McLaren MCL35M video, a large shark fin can help you to push the front rear wake outboard while turning. But it then creates a shark fin tip vortex, which is likely to hit the rear wing and lower its performance. So you have to manage that. With a small or no shark fin, it's the opposite. A shark fin tip vortex will be created very late, it will be weak, and it will flow underneath the rear wing, so that's not a problem. But you lose the potential to push the front rear wake outboard. So if you have a strong bargeboard and side wing area, that makes sure that your front rear wake will not hit the center parts of the rear while turning, you can run a small shark fin. All in all, it's a great looking car and I'm looking forward to see this car running. What about you? Let me know in the comments below.